And good afternoon, and you are very welcome to this plenary launch for the alliance between Eindhoven University of Technology, Wageningen University and Research, Utrecht University and UMC Utrecht. I am your host, Barry Fitzgerald, for today's plenary launch of the alliance, and we've got a fantastic programme in place for you today. Now, earlier on this year, the alliance was supposed to officially launch, but due to the coronavirus pandemic, of course, that original plan had to be cancelled and now has been pivoted into this online hybrid event where a number of us are here in a studio, obeying the restrictions associated with the coronavirus, and you are at home watching. Now, we still want to preserve some element of the live experience that we would have had with all of you here. And we'd like you to do the following. We'd like you to send a photograph of yourself. And to do so, we need you to use the camera button on the event platform to take a photograph, upload that picture, and that will actually make its way to us. And later on, we're going to do something very cool with all of those photographs. So I'd ask you to start sending the photographs now. I want to also extend a very warm welcome to everyone here in the studio and all of the speakers who will be part of the panels that we're going to have today. And a very special welcome to our special guest, that is the Minister of Education, Culture and Science, Ingrid van Engelshoven. Minister, you're very welcome.
Well, it's an honor to be part of this event. You put together a very promising program, and I'll be excited to be participating in the round table later this afternoon. But it's great to be here.
Thank you very much, Minister, and it's fantastic to have you here as part of this Alliance launch. Now, I'm just going to take a moment to see if we've got any photographs coming through, and I see that we do, so just clicking through, I see we have Merle here is sending a photo. Thank you very much for sending it in. Just going to see if I can get out and get another one. I see that we have Joost here has also sent in a photograph. Thank you very much, Joost, for sending us in an image. And see if we can get one more then, just to also have here. And I see that we have Alita, who has sent in a photograph as well. So thank you very much for sending in those images to us. Now, in terms of this Alliance launch, we have a fantastic program in place. We've got some very nice, interesting discussions that we're going to be doing. But naturally, we want to hear from you, the viewers. So on the online platform, you have the opportunity to submit questions, to submit your comments. So please do over the course of the discussions. And we will do our utmost to make sure we can include as many of those in the discussions and have you as part of today's event, as we would have liked you to have been if we were all together in a large theatre setting. Right, let's get started with the first table discussion of the day. Now, central to the remit of the Alliance is to address some of the key societal problems that we're currently facing. And for this, the Alliance has two broad themes. One of those is in preventative health, and the second is on circular society. And to tell us about the efforts the Alliance are going to be taking to engage with these, I'm joined by some panellists for this first table discussion. First of all, I'd like to introduce Carmen, who is an expert on high-tech innovation in healthcare. Very welcome, Carmen.
Thank you.
Roel, who is involved in environmental epidemiology.
Thank you.
Great to have you here as well. And whose expertise lies on sustainable water and soil resource management.
Thank you. Good
Thanks.
afternoon.
Thanks for being here. And of course, I'd like to remind everyone once again that if you have comments or questions, please send them through and we'll include them in the discussion. So let's get things started. And we'll start off by considering the theme of preventative health. And first of all, I'd like to turn to you, Carmen, and ask you this. Before we get into the details, I'm very curious to hear what you think about the alliance, this collaboration between Eindhoven, Wageningen and Utrecht. Have you ever been involved in collaborations between these universities, and if so, what were they?
Well, I'm very enthusiastic about this collaboration because I think our challenges within health are quite huge. And we really need this complementary knowledge of these four institutes, knowledge and skills to cope with these challenges. So I'm really looking forward to the further collaboration, and it's also based indeed on earlier collaborations between 2, 3 or 4 of the existing partners. For instance, University Utrecht, UMC Utrecht and Eindhoven are working together already for a long, long time on regenerative medicine and imaging. And we already have a number of big joint projects there, both national and international. And I think in recent years we have also other topics like vitality. And we also have already for a number of years a couple of joint education lines. So it's really building further on the existing collaborations.
So really building on previous experiences with those collaborations. Now, in addition to being the Director of Strategic Health Area at TUE, you were also Chair of the Life Sciences and Health Top Sector. What is your own then personal perspective on preventative health?
Well, our government has a couple of years ago also defined what are the most important societal challenges we want to cope in the Netherlands, especially with innovation. And both circularity and health are 2 of these topics that we are focusing on from a government and from a national point of view. And within health, we have defined a number of long-term goals. And the goal for 2040 is we want people to stay healthy 5 years longer and living also 5 years longer. And in addition, we want people, the difference or the inequalities in this between the lower and higher social classes to be reduced. Well, prevention, of course, is a very important method or submission to fulfill these long-term Dutch missions. So I'm extremely happy that also in this alliance, with my 2 hats on, we have the same kind of priorities and the same kind of focus.
Well, it's fantastic to hear that you're co-aligned in terms of your central aims. So let's get at the perspective from Utrecht University. So Roel, you've been working together with Carmen and other colleagues in the Alliance for the last few months. Where do you see the added value of the Alliance in terms of addressing issues on preventative health?
Yeah, I think we can agree that we cannot treat ourselves out of the current health challenges that we have. And so it really needs a balanced approach between prevention, early detection and treatment. And I think the focus, what we actually have done in this first part is really to see where are the strengths of the different institutions and where are really the synergies that we can actually make a difference in this Dutch landscape. And we think that can be done on the nexus between technology, lifestyle interventions and intervention in the environment. And that's really where I think the Alliance can make a difference and come up with sustainable solutions for prevention.
Okay. Right, at this moment in time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a look at the comments to see if there are any questions coming through or anything in relation to anything from you, the viewers. I don't see that there is anything there at the moment, but please do send them through. It would be great to get some comments and feedback in relation to what we're talking about. So in terms of the Alliance, the collaboration is aiming to unite researchers from multiple disciplines. However, preventative health is, to me anyway, is quite a broad area to fully address. So, Roel, where do you think the Alliance should focus its efforts?
Yeah, I think that's a good question and a very relevant question. We don't focus on a single disease or a single technology. We really see that the strength of the 4 institutions is really on this nexus between technology, lifestyle interventions, and the living environment. And I think we have a few core principles there, and that is that we really believe that those interventions should be participatory, so it's really citizens and patients first. It should be positive. This is really about quality of life, as Carmen already said, about the 5 years in good health and reducing life disparities with 30%. We want it to be predictive so that we actually have early interventions. Prevention at an early stage is much better than doing it later. And of course, we want to make it precise in the sense that actually prevention comes to the right person or to the right group of persons. So this is really the focus of the prevention health program that we are proposing here.
So really a very tailored, focused approach towards dealing with healthcare problems or health issues that in the past would have been done in a very, let's say, general or broader sense.
Yeah, exactly, because the problem is if we do it in silos, we never get prevention programs that are going to be effective. So it's really about actually linking these fields. So if I go back to my field where I look at air pollution, noise, social inequalities in cities, actually in part that is actually governed by how we actually design our neighborhoods, how we build our neighborhoods. And that's actually where the TU Eindhoven with their built environment department is really strong, and that's where Wageningen with the green space and thinking about how to actually build healthy neighborhoods really come together with the health research in Utrecht. So it's really that integration that leads to effective prevention programs.
And it's great to hear, because I think many people might be aware of the importance of having all these contributions. So let's pivot towards the second broad theme, which is on circular safe society. And I'd like to turn to you, Huub, and ask you, well, you've been working on circular society with a number of colleagues as part of the Alliance. Why do you think the universities should be collaborating together on this broad theme in relation to circular society?
Yeah, so thank you very much. So the problem we are facing is that making our society circular is really quite a challenge. So our government has said, okay, in 2050 we should have a circular society. Also on the European level, this has been said. But just doing this is quite a complex challenge. This has to deal with social innovation, technical innovation, also an innovation of the balance between nature and our human society, the green area and the built area. All these combination need an integration of different disciplines. Each university or partner in this alliance alone cannot tackle this problem, but together we can. And that's, I think, the uniqueness of this collaboration, really making a step forward in this integrative, joint disciplinary approach of this huge challenge.
I think it's a very good thing you've just said, together we can, and that's what it should be done. It should be everyone together. And then in terms of the partnership in the Alliance, how do you think the Alliance can contribute to the societal transition in circularity?
Yeah, so I think a collaboration should also make a change on the scientific level. So the old way of monodisciplinary research, going in depth and depth only, is not bringing the solution to this challenge. We can only make that by combining disciplines and creating new knowledge. And we want to do this in a fundamental way. So we include social sciences, psychology, perception sciences, citizen science, participation of all stakeholders, including the public. But we also need to involve the high tech of Eindhoven University and the green tech of Wageningen, and the medical and health science and know-how of the UMC. And together we can create a new basic understanding. But from that we need to go on. We need to go on to practical situations to create showcases. So we want, for instance, to create a circular hospital collaboration in the Netherlands. Or we want to go to deal with the problem of electrifying our society, creates a problem of batteries and rare earth metals that are short. Or what we have now, we need to transport public and goods around the world or in a global scale, but we are, and for a circularity approach, we need to do that more and more and more. But the problem is how to create a safe environment, also in terms of protections against chemicals of pathogens or other things we are now facing in this COVID-19 era.
Absolutely, yes. And because of the disruption that we had with the first session, because I'm sure that some viewers haven't heard from all the speakers, I am going to ask one last question very quickly and very briefly to Carmen. As scientists, we contribute new insights and perspectives. How does this help with the health sector and people struggling with health issues?
I think one of the examples that I would like to mention is that we all know the amount of information and the amount of knowledge about health is increasing exponentially, and not only on cell and organ level, but also on total body level, on environment, like Roel mentioned. And we are, all four partners are working on digital twins, so making a digital you could say copy of what's happening in the real life, combining all this information from all these four viewpoints into one prediction predictive model for caregivers will make an enormous change, I think, in the future. So that's definitely one of the ambitions we have on the roadmap, and we envision that we can contribute with all four of us into that kind of solutions, both for caregivers and at the end, of course, also for citizens and for patients.
Fantastic. Well, I think the take-home message from this first table discussion is you have all these different backgrounds and universities coming together and joining together in an effort to work on key problems and solutions in society. I want to thank all three of you for being part of this discussion and contributing to a very interesting first opening table discussion of this plenary launch. So thank you very much to all of you. And well, we're going to go very swiftly onwards to hear from students, because students are very important to the Alliance. They're important to the institutes as well. And let's get the student perspective on the Alliance with a little bit of a twist. And our student reporter, Stan van den Bosch, well, he's had the opportunity to speak to members of the executive board of the partner institutes. So let's take a look.
Hi there. My name is Stan van den Bosch. I study Global Sustainability Science at Utrecht University. I've heard about this new alliance between the universities of Utrecht, Wageningen, Eindhoven and Utrecht Medical Center. And I would like to find out a little bit more about it. If you do too, you're in luck, because I've managed to organize 4 interviews with the board members of all the institutions. And I will try to find out a little bit more what this alliance will mean for them, but also for us as students. Today, I will be your student reporter. First of all, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, great. Well, under the circumstances, of course.
We're doing fine. I think, like most of us, we're working from home.
I'm doing fine. Still, no complaints as far as COVID is concerned.
To a certain extent, I'm doing fine. But yeah, well, life has become, let's say, rather boring.
I can completely imagine. Luckily, we also have something exciting to talk about, namely the Alliance. What is the Alliance and what does it stand for?
Basically, what it tries to do is to join the forces, but especially profit from the complementarity. So each of the 4 institutions is very different.
And in the combination of all these disciplines, we can achieve wonderful things, I think.
We create unique opportunities for our scientists, but also unique opportunities for our students that can learn from the other disciplines that are represented by the other universities.
And that means that we can try to solve societal challenges that you can't solve by yourself. So you need to collaborate.
I was wondering, what can the Alliance mean for me as a student?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question, Sam, to ask that.
In your studies, you will come across certain issues, certain problems that will not be solvable only by the people in your faculty. Let's look at the other possibilities there.
So one of the things that we really focus on is educational innovation. So, challenge-based learning with interdisciplinary groups.
And clearly we have engineers. In Utrecht, there are other disciplines are relevant, and we have the engineers of Wageningen. If you put them together in one single team, there's a unique thing that's going to happen between the students. And then they can come up with solutions to really complicated problems that you would not get if you would just take a single discipline represented by a single university.
And I think one of the main benefits, is student mobility. So what we aim for is that really the Student Alliance make it much more easy for students to study part of the study program in one of the other institutions.
So now that I know a bit more about what the Alliance means for students, can you explain to me a little bit what it can mean for our futures as young researchers?
We have been bringing together a lot of young researchers, starting with our young academies. We asked them to, let's say, have a lot of conversations and come up with new ideas. There's a lot of energy there. They came up with their own ideas about creating a center for unusual cooperations.
I think what it can mean for you is that you can, as a researcher, study much more in multidisciplinary teams.
Well, there are already a couple of areas where we have intense collaboration between scientists from one institution and scientists of the other institution, simply because they have complementary know-how.
So I think what that means for you is that you see within your study, you try to assess where you can learn things that you wouldn't learn at Utrecht University and that are present at either UMC or in Eindhoven-Wageningen.
What is your idea about alliance?
Have you become a little bit excited if you now hear about this alliance?
Yeah, the Alliance sounds like a very, very exciting opportunity for me as a student. The Alliance, I think, can bring that next step to my education and enable me to meet students from other institutions and also to meet students with different worldviews. A big thank you to all the board members of the Alliance, and thank you for taking the time to answer some of my questions.
That was great, Stan. Thank you very much for your student report. And thanks a lot to the members of the executive boards of the partner institutes for taking the time out to answer some of Stan's questions. Now, the motto of the Alliance is challenging future generations. So it seems quite sensible then that the young academies of the partner institutes would play a central role in the Alliance. And today, for this second discussion, we're going to be looking at quite unusual collaborations, or the benefit of unusual collaborations. And I'm joined by some new panelists for this. First of all, I'm joined by Jessica, whose research looks at the politics of sustainable food systems, Martina, whose current research is on the history of free speech, and Yanni, whose research focuses on biomedical imaging. A very diverse range of topics, and just to throw my own background into the mix, I'm a physicist, so we have ticked quite a lot of boxes in terms of the topics we're going to talk about. Quick reminder before we get into the questions that if you have any comments or questions for the panel or the discussion, please do send them through, and we'll see if we can include them in the discussion. Right, so you're all members of the young academies in your respective institutes. I'll start with you, Jessica. What did you think when you were first asked to work together with the young academies of Eindhoven and Utrecht?
Yeah, well, we had a rather urgent email from our rector last October, and we have a very nice relationship with our board, I would say, but it's not often that we're sent these sort of urgent requests to meet with the board. So we immediately panicked and showed up to the meeting trying to figure out, what we had done. And we were quickly reassured. The rector explained to us a little bit about the Alliance, and he mentioned that he saw a really key role for the young academies, and we were pretty excited to hear that. And as you mentioned, challenging future generations, we're right in there with that motto. So we let that sink in, and we thought, is this too good to be true? Is this really happening? And once it had sunk in, I'm actually kind of ashamed to admit that our first instinct was to think, okay, what can we gain from this? How can the Wageningen Young Academy really get something out of this collaboration? And we reached out to the other young academies, and I'm really happy to say that we very quickly changed gears. We very quickly decided that we should not be working in a competitive environment, but the opportunity that's been presented to us allows for a really neat opportunity to collaborate. And the rest, I guess, is history. Yes,
as you just said, a really unique opportunity to collaborate, because you get to work with people who are not in your principal field of research or experience. And Yanni, that's where the Centre for Unusual Collaborations, love the name, focuses on interdisciplinary cross-correlations or connections that are very innovative. Why is it important to work on projects that include these different perspectives?
Yeah, well, I think also in the previous session, we can all agree that the societal problems we are facing will need solution at an interdisciplinary level. And to get good interdisciplinary research, you really have to find a common ground. And you really have to get to know each other. So this is what we really want to aim for. We want to bring people together to start a dialogue and to talk with people that you normally really don't talk to so easily. And we also want to go even beyond that. So not only the dialogue, but we also want to give researchers the opportunity to start doing it and to try out new collaboration. Okay. Yeah.
And Martina, I'm sure you've collaborated with many people in the past, like many researchers have, who would be seen as more your traditional or expected collaborations. Can you give an example of an unusual collaboration that you were involved with, and why was it so unusual?
Well, I'm actually part of a team that consists of immunologists, social psychologists, industrial designers, and literary historians, as I am. So it's quite unusual, I think. And we coined our project The Power of One. So we want to really see the unseen. So as researchers, we often focus on clear-cut categories and the average persons. But in real life, it's not only heart failure, low literacy, gender. People fit into multiple categories. So take, for example, Josie, a fictional character. Josie has heart failure, but she is also of low literacy level, and she is at risk of being misdiagnosed, because we often tend to look at male-oriented heart failure symptoms, and we fail to communicate better with her. So we have to improve this. We have to go beyond the usual suspects and, find the unusual suspects, if you know what I mean. And then, make our data collections more inclusive.
Yes, so I think what I've got is a great question. It's just actually vanished from my screen, but I'm going to ask the question. Somebody just asked, how do you, when you all meet the different collaborators you're working with, make sure that you're all speaking the same languages? So you all have different phrases or different words for things in your field. I know that there are words that are used in econometrics in one way and then in science in another. So Jessica, how does it work for you?
Yeah, I think this has been a real learning process for us. The first thing we realized is it takes time. And that's something that we actually asked for from the rectors. The original assignment was to come up with 3 ideas very quickly, and we came back and said, based on the initial conversations that we had, if we really want to build a common language, if we really want to ensure success across these projects, if we really want something different, then we need time to build this common language. And different teams have done it in different ways. And maybe my colleagues can speak to that.
Yanni, how about you? Have you found this language thing difficult?
I definitely experienced that it's really difficult to talk about the same thing in the same language. So there has been confusion, which is actually also part of the process of really nailing down the problem. And I think that's really also the fun part of this whole effort.
Yeah, I mean, you're learning so much about other people's work or other areas, and you get to say, oh, I see they use this phrase, but in a completely different way, or have a different perspective on it. And for you as well, Martina, I'm sure you also may have experienced this as well.
Oh, it can be a brutal process. You really have to be honest with each other, not really being polite, Please say, I don't understand what you mean. Please tell it in Jip and Janneke language or something, because I don't follow you. And that's because you're really in a safe environment all of the time, and then you're thrown out of it, and that's really confrontive, actually.
Absolutely, yeah, I can totally imagine. And I've been in that because I'm a physicist, and I've ended up working in chemistry or working in another field, maybe not too far away from physics, but I have had the same experience with terms of terminology and languages. Jessica, as representatives of the 4 young academies, you have been working together for a year, and maybe you already referred to this, but has the collaborations, have they developed as you expected, as you wanted?
Short answer is no. The longer answer is yes, on the one hand, they've exceeded my expectations, and on the other hand, it was way harder than I anticipated, and I think that any of us anticipated, in part because of this language problem. How do we find a common ground? How do we find a common vision? And also because we've been far more ambitious than we ever initially thought we would be. We've built a team from the ground up, a very interdisciplinary team, and we've built trust. That took time. We've opened up. So the original assignment was for the young academies, and we felt it was so important to go beyond our young academies, but to not go so beyond that we can no longer manage the network. So we asked actually each young academy member to invite somebody who could really contribute to this network in interesting ways. I mean, we had this idea for a center, and we now have a physical space for the center, and as soon as COVID restrictions allow for it, we'll be meeting, we'll be collaborating, we'll be facilitating processes, and also reaching out to society. That is really exciting. And then the 4th point, I guess, is that we have learned so much, and we are integrating this learning into our own processes. We are really, I think, an exceptional case in learning from doing.
That's really good, yeah. Now, I got to ask this, Martina. The logo for your centre is an octopus, okay? Octopus is really cool species. I mean, some of the things they're able to do. So why an octopus?
Intelligent as well, right?
Yes, yeah.
So we chose Cuco as our mascot. So it has tentacles. And what's funny is that tentare, the Latin word tentare, means to feel, to try. And that's what we're doing. We're trying something new, you know. And these tentacles, they embody the manifold disciplines of our members, which are experts into manifold disciplines. And they all merge, you know, and they connect into the head. And that's where, when all these tentacles work together, that's where our unusual and interdisciplinary collaborations arise. So, an octopus.
Yeah, well, that's a great analogy and a great explanation. I mean, yeah, I can see why now. It's very, very good. And Yanni, the Alliance wants to challenge future generations, which I think is a good thing to do. And how will the Centre for Unusual Collaborations help the current crop of young researchers and invigorate the next generation to get involved?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you join our center, you will step into a massive network. So a network of scientists, of scholars, but also of other societal partners. So like the tentacles of the octopus. And we will also provide trainings on how to do interdisciplinary research, but also how to reach out to private partners or other public partners. But most important, I want to say, we really want to help young investigators to get off the beaten track, you know, try something new, be supportive to just take the risk, and you might gain a lot. So that's really why we want to encourage the young researchers to do this.
And I think it's great to get the researchers thinking already at such a young point in their careers about doing unusual collaborations to be able to comfortably step out of their own, let's say, zone or bubble of the area of expertise. So it's fantastic that you're all doing this. And the Centre for Unusual Collaborations, I think, is brilliant. Thank you very much, Jessica, Martina, and Yanni, for your contribution. A fantastic discussion on unusual collaborations, I must say. I think it's very much a case of watch this space on the Centre for Unusual Collaborations. Right. I think it's time that we all get to know each other a little bit better. And I, for one, think that a really cool way to do this is with a quiz. Now, personally speaking, I love quizzes. Those who know me know that I love quizzes, and I think it's a great way to share knowledge and share experiences and have some fun. And that's what we're going to do today with everyone at home. We're going to have a little bit of a quiz. And to reflect on the questions, I am joined by one of the speakers who you will see later on in table 3, and that is Annabel Oosterwijk. Annabel.
Hi.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here to discuss the questions. Now, the questions are partially based on the institutions, and of course, there's going to be a little bit of fun thrown into the mix as well. You can answer the questions as they appear on the online platform that you're currently watching this event via. So let's get started. Let's kick off with question number 1, which I see as a get to know you question. Now, the first question is in relation to Sinterklaas. In a few days' time, it's time for Sinterklaas to arrive to the Netherlands and to bring lots of nice gifts. And we want to know, what would you like to see in your shoe after Sinterklaas has arrived? Is it A, a COVID-19 vaccine, B, an invitation from a colleague from one of the partner institutions to work together on an exciting new research proposal or new course, or C, an invitation to be a keynote speaker at the next Alliance event? Annabel, what do you think?
Well, I would go for a COVID-19 vaccine.
Okay.
So we are all able to do fun things again with our friends and family. So.
Yeah, and I can see, and I also would say the same. As you can see here, with the results, very much the consensus is 53% for a COVID-19 vaccine, just 8% for the keynote speaker at the next Alliance event. So that 8%, I hope that happens for you, perhaps. Question number 2, I see this is also a get-to-know-you question, and this is it. So 2020 hasn't been a great year for socializing. We would like to know how many colleagues from partner institutions in the Alliance you have met over the past few months. And the options are A, Corona's not stopping me. I've been out and about and met colleagues from all the partner institutions. Is it B, I've met just 1 or 2 colleagues? Or C, are you kidding? I haven't seen anyone in real life since March. Annabelle, how about you? What is your answer to this?
My answer would be B.
Would be B,
Yeah.
okay. So you have met a couple of your colleagues or friends in this period?
Yeah, for when we did group work. So one time during group work to have a face, to get to know my peers a little bit better.
Okay.
But only once.
Only once, that's okay. Well, we see then that only most people here have gone with B and C. 10% have gone with A. So good to see that input. Right, let's move on to question number 3. And these are questions that are based on the partners in the Alliance. Now, question 3 is going to reflect on some very important anniversaries in relation to the partners. So this year, UMC Utrecht has a lustrum year. Next year, TUE and Utrecht University will have a lustrum year. Wageningen celebrated an important lustrum year in 2018. What will be the combined age of the 4 partner institutions in 2021? So was it A, 473, B, 527, C, 574, or D, 600? Any ideas, Annabelle?
I have no idea.
No idea. No, what I first of all think is that the combined age for me, is quite big. In all of them, there's no small options there. Of course, I'm affiliated with Eindhoven, so I do know what Eindhoven's lustrum is. Maybe you also know as well from
Wageningen.
Wageningen,
Yes.
yeah. So we have the answers have come through, and the majority, just over half, have gone for C as 574, which is the correct answer, because TUE will be 65 in 2021, Wageningen will be 103, UMCU will be 21, that's as a separate legal entity from Utrecht University, and the University of Utrecht will be 385. To be honest, I didn't know that Utrecht University was so old. That's probably what the key factor there in having the combined age so high. Let's get on to question number 4. Now, of course, we know rankings really have very little value in science. It still, though, is interesting to speculate. Now, one such ranking is the Leiden ranking. Now, there are a number of indicators used by the Leiden ranking to rank universities. One of these is known as the PP Top 10%. That is the proportion of the publications that belong to the top 10% most frequently cited publications. What position on the Leiden ranking would TUE, WR, UMCU and UU have together? Now, we have 4 options. We have 30, which is just above ETH Zurich. We have 20, which is just above Yale University. We have 8, which is just above University College London. And in position number 3, which is just under Harvard and Stanford. Any idea at all on this, Annabelle? Any thoughts?
I think it's quite high, but I think 3 is too high, so I'd go for 8.
You would go for 8?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All with reference to very, very big worldwide and well-known institutions around the world. We're still receiving answers there. As you can see, the bars are moving back and forth, and people, I'm sure, are doing back-of-the-envelope calculations maybe to figure out who is what the correct answer is. Well, I can tell you that, Annabelle, you've said 8. 35% have said 8, and you're right. It is 8, which would be just above University College London. Question number 5. The Alliance partners are prestigious not only in science but also in other areas. Which sport team or individual has won a world championship 5 times? Is it A, Tech United from TUE? Is it B, Nadine Visser, student at Wageningen and an athlete specialising in high hurdles? C, is it the aristocratic fencers and lawyers de Beaufort and Lebochier from University Utrecht in the beginning of the 20th century? Or is it D, the rower Kai Hendricks, who is a student of medicine at UMC Utrecht? Annabelle, any ideas?
I think I'll follow the majority.
You follow the majority, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of want it to be the fencers and lawyers. I really do. And we're still receiving answers, and unanimously it's coming through at 90%, I see thus far. So those who have gone with 90% at number A, answer A, you are indeed correct, because the Tech United have won the World Championships in 2019, 18, 16, 14 and 12. So that's the correct answer. Question 6, the campuses of the Alliance partners host some beautiful buildings, and a number of them have won prestigious awards and prizes. one name for a building occurs on 2 of our campuses. Is it Orion in Wageningen, Utrecht, Atlas in Wageningen and Eindhoven, or the Editorium in Eindhoven and Utrecht? Now, Annabel, do you have any idea in relation to this question?
Well, I know there's Atlas and Orion in Wageningen.
Of course.
But I have no idea about Utrecht and Eindhoven.
You haven't been on the other campuses?
No, I have no idea what their buildings are called. So,
if you were going to guess, what would you say?
I would say B.
Okay, you've gone with B.
Yeah.
I see that 30% have also gone for B, and you are all correct. Indeed, there is a building called Atlas and the campus of Wageningen and Eindhoven. And our final question in relation to the quiz: our campuses are not just beautiful, they are hotspots of innovation and R&D. How many companies are located on our combined campuses? And that's just counting the campuses, so not the brainport. We have 4 options: A, 241, B, 289, C, 315, or D, 393. What do you think, Annabelle? Any ideas?
No, just a guess, C.
You go for C?
Yeah.
I could see the answer, of course. I really did not have an idea.
No.
So we'll just let the answers come through. It's quite a lot, of course. It's great to see that so many companies are coming out of research from the institutes. Be just interesting to see where things stop. So I think we'll leave it at that. Oh, just a slight change there. So the changes again because people are voting. So the correct answer is D. It is 393. So yeah, just in terms of a third of people voting for that. So there we go. That has been the end of the quiz. I think we've all learned a lot about each other. We've learned a lot about the partner institutions. I want to thank Annabelle for joining me to discuss the questions and answers. Now let's get back to discussing the Alliance in our final table discussion, in which we'll be looking at education. Now, perhaps the most important contribution that the Alliance wants to make is related to students. After all, this is the generation that the Alliance wants to reach and wants to recruit to be part of their initiatives moving forward. And for this table discussion in relation to education, I'm joined by quite a large panel, and we have somebody who will also be joining us remotely. So let's introduce the panel that's here in studio. First of all, I'm joined by Joanna, who's an expert in topics such as development studies and responsible innovation. Karen, who's an expert in research on climate change. Sana is involved in organising the Biomedtech Nutrition Interdisciplinary Team training. And Annabelle, who we had at the quiz as well, is a student at Wageningen and a student assistant for the Food for Health and Safety Challenge. And of course, a very warm welcome as well to the Minister of Education, Culture and Science, Ingrid van Engelshoven. Minister, I'd like to start by asking for your thoughts on the Alliance.
Well, I'm really, truly pleased with this alliance. It's 4 of our leading institutes working together. And as was just said by the young academics, it's if you go for unexpected cooperation, you get unexpected solutions through on the real big challenges we have. And I'm very pleased also to see that the Alliance focuses on young talent and incorporates young talent in working on these big societal challenges together. And the Alliance is really bringing in practice one of the important themes in my strategic agenda, and that's, we came from a very big from competition, and we're going towards cooperation between our institutions. And this is really putting cooperation into practice. So I'm very pleased, and I'm very pleased to hear that young researchers, young academics are very much involved in this cooperation.
Thank you very much for the great words there, Minister. And we'll be back to you in a few moments to have you answer some questions and engage with the panel we have here in the studio. And just a reminder, if you've got any comments or questions, please make sure to send them through to us, and we'll do our best to integrate them into the discussion. So let's engage here with the panel that we have here. So I'd like to start first of all with you, Joanna. You're based at TUE. You were elected Teacher of the Year in the Netherlands a few months ago. So congratulations on the award and the recognition. What is your perspective on how the universities should challenge students?
Yeah. I mean, what I saw is that students really are concerned about their future, our future, and that they really want to engage. And that is one of the triggers also for us, I think, as universities to react to that, to take that serious, and to actually, offer possibilities to engage with real-life challenges. So one of the things, I think many universities, and especially this alliance, is doing is that we're actually offering real-life challenges on which students can collaborate, work together. And I think the second part would be that we see that these big global challenges, they can only be tackled together. So I think another angle to these real-life challenges is really to foster multidisciplinary collaboration. Sometimes you call that transdisciplinary collaboration, to work together on challenges in order to contribute to a better future.
Okay. Now, Karen, the Alliance has ambitions to contribute to solving complex problems that humanity is facing at the moment. How do you think that students can be involved at this from an early stage?
Yeah, I think I totally agree also what Johanna was just saying, that this challenge-based interdisciplinary approach is really important. Me personally, so I personally really focus on sustainability and sustainability education. And we are organizing an inter-university sustainability challenge, which is a bachelor course. And it's a broad course on sustainability where students are going to look at the city of the future. So how can we make cities more sustainable, looking at agricultural, urban agriculture, but also energy transition, for instance. At the same time, I also think it's good when students really go and do things. So we also, a second part that I'm involved in is that I created a game together with lots of other people that is called Utrecht 2040, where students will envision the best Utrecht in 2040, and they go out into the streets and really interact with their environment to together create the best version of the city in 2040.
Okay, that's very cool. Sounds like a really cool. I personally love games, so I think it's great that you've taken that stance. And I'd like to just turn to the Minister and ask, what is your perspective in relation to what we've just heard the panelists speak in relation to education and in terms of what they want to achieve with regards to the Alliance?
Well, it's very interesting to hear that young students learn through these corporations to work together with different disciplines, look at challenges from different angles, learn to look at problems from different perspectives. So I think it's what really prepares young students for the new world. And also prepares them well. We have to learn our students that they not only study in 2020, but they will study when they start now until 2070 in a lifelong learning. And through their life, they will discover different disciplines. They will have to work together. And that's now what they learn from the start. So that's it's very challenging for them, I believe, but it's also very interesting and really prepares them for the rest of their life. And I think it will offer a very rich learning environment. But what I would like to ask everyone on the table is how is it if you teach a certain discipline, if you work in a multidisciplinary team, you yourself have to incorporate these different angles, different perspectives, and especially different languages from different disciplines. And I think it's being a teacher, this must be very challenging. So I'd like to hear from the table what's the experience? Is it hard?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And also because of this table, we not only have educators, we also have a student, so we can get both the perspectives here. So perhaps I'll actually go to Annabelle and ask from your perspective as a student sitting in a classroom in a multidisciplinary topic, how do you find it? Do you find it difficult to have to jump between all these different topics and areas?
Well, yeah, sometimes it's challenging, but it's also an eye-opener. So you can see what are your own knowledge gaps, and afterwards you can follow courses in those directions or from those disciplines. So it's good to build your own complete package of knowledge and to know what your own qualities are and what you're still lacking and what you want to learn in the future.
Okay, and Sanne, how would you also view this question in terms of what the minister is asking?
Yeah, I think it's a very nice question, and then what I experienced is that I actually become a student again, because for me it was new, and then I started it because of my more or less intrinsic motivation to collaborate. But you learn about the challenges and the things that students will have as well. So it's good to experience it. Then you can also use it in while developing this education. And if I look back now, then I think I really developed myself in that area by learning by doing, actually.
So the educators are always learning. That's what the students should
Yes,
also remember.
yes.
Educators are always learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and briefly, Karen, in your case, how would you also see it for you doing the multidisciplinary education?
Yeah, I think the language component is very important because we have all different terms that kind of mean the same thing. And what I find really useful is to think about themes. So if you have a thematic approach, so you have, for instance, the city of the future, urban agriculture, we can look at this from all different perspectives and then we can get together much easier. It's also very good to acknowledge the differences and to acknowledge the differences in language, to gain the trust and to embrace the diversity.
Okay. Excellent. I hope that the answers from the panel have been suitable for you, Minister. I hope you're happy to hear these type of questions, these type of answers, and to a very good question. And I'd just like to move on to you, Joanna, because I'd like you maybe to have perhaps give an example of a real-world challenge you've been working on with your students. So this might be linked to this question we got from the Minister as well.
Yes. In one of the courses I give and I designed, I work on responsible innovations. And what is special there is that I work with NGOs and corporates, but also public institutions. So a whole range of stakeholders. And it happens that always the course I'm teaching, I find the challenges the best challenges. So right now we're working, for example, on the issue of circular economy, and we look at sort of the sector of furniture there. Or another example would be, for example, that we work on mobile health clinics in Africa and try to make them carbon neutral and try to make them more energy efficient. So I think what is really crucial is that the challenges we are working on, they make sense and that you can actually show the students that they're working for something which has an impact. I think that's also, hopping on what you've said before. So how do you make it all happen and how do you talk beyond the disciplines? Is that we really know, this is what we're working for.
Okay. Sanne, now just to kind of switch things towards a team training. So you're involved as a lecturer in another challenge. It's the Biomedtech Nutrition Interdisciplinary Team Training. Bit of a mouthful at the moment, but it has an acronym, BIT. Yes, that makes it easier. Can you tell us about BIT?
Yes. Yeah, so last year we had the first edition of this BIT project, and it's actually a course for master students from these 4 partner institutions from the Alliance. And so we have the medicine discipline, biomedical discipline, engineering discipline, and this year also nutrition and health will join this course. And these students will collaborate, work on a real-life problem, and it's a disease-related problem. So patients come together with their treating physician and talk about the problems they face in daily life. And then the students, in smaller groups, they will work together. So first of all, they will have a thorough look at the disease itself and share their expertise on the disease. And then subsequently, they will think about a solution, of course, for this problem. And they have to do that in an interdisciplinary approach. And there you can see that they really add up on each other. So it's really, it has a huge added value to think about a solution together with other disciplines. And then they really learn from each other. And we also notice that the solutions that they come up with, they are higher level, I would say, than only come from one discipline.
Yeah, of course, because they can have the synergy of experiences that they bring together from the classroom into their solution. And just thinking about from the student perspective then, Annabel, you're a student at Wageningen. In terms of your experience with challenge-based learning, can you briefly just say what you get out of it as a student?
I think for a student, it's a great way to apply your theoretical knowledge into this real-world problem. You receive a lot of guidance in projects, so it's kind of a safe environment with trial and error to apply your knowledge. And I think you also learn a lot from your peers, since they are from different disciplines. And then on an individual level, you start to building your own network and working on your professional attitude. So I think that's what you can get out of it as a student.
Yeah, because when I was at this stage of being a student, I didn't experience that much challenge-based learning. And what I've heard is similar reports from students who really do enjoy it because it's a different approach towards the learning process. Now, the current corona situation has affected how content has been demonstrated and how students have engaged with the content. And Minister, I just want to take this moment at the end of the discussion, maybe just ask you, do you have a question that you'd like to ask our panel in relation particularly to this subject?
If I hear the panel, I think it makes me want to go back to school, because I think education can be so rich and so challenging when you work together. But even what we see as a cabinet in coping with this COVID crisis, that we need this multidisciplinary teams, and that we have to look at problems from different perspectives, from different angles, and that we need to combine different fields of science. So what we see in current days is a real push for working together through disciplines. And what I think what you discussed on the different tables is that we see a lot of these big challenges of today where that we can only solve if we work together. And what I would ask for the teachers and the students on the table, what do they see in new opportunities from this cooperation for them, not only for the challenges we meet as a society, but also for them personally? What's in it for them on the table?
Okay, that's a really good question. And just in regards to time, I just want to ask very briefly for two very brief answers from the panel. So, Karen, maybe if you could briefly address the question.
Yes. It's a very good question, and I think what is in it for me is that what I would really like to look at is if you can also reach this interdisciplinarity in a virtual environment. So this course that we are developing is in the virtual classroom, where we actually have big screens, where you actually have much more contact with your students. Students can interact more. There's more possibility for interaction and feedback. This is something that I am really interested in. Can we have different virtual environments where we can really teach in interdisciplinary setting?
That sounds very good, I think. And Joanna, maybe very briefly, if you could say something.
I think collaboration really also is built on sort of personal knowing each other. And I think, such an alliance, it already happened. We have invited each other for the guest lectures. So I think it's also really this very basic personal level that we know who is, with whom we are talking. And this is how really great collaborations start. So I think that's what I really personally take out of that.
Very good. Thank you very much for being part of the discussion, and thank you very much to the Minister, of course. We're at a very important juncture of today's plenary launch, so let's get on to the official launch of the Alliance. Yes, as I've mentioned, we're at a very important part of today's event. That is the official launch of the Alliance, and I would like to invite the Minister to say a few words to mark the occasion.
Well, we have been talking about cooperation all afternoon. Me in an almost empty office in the Hague, you from Utrecht, and I think a lot of people are watching in Eindhoven and Wageningen. And I think what we show here today is that if you really want to, you can work together. You can, well, there are limitations, but we can, if you really want to cooperate, nothing can stand in the way. And this is a beautiful day, but what's even more important is what will happen after today. And how does this cooperation really will add to the big questions we have. And it won't be easy always. And there will be challenges. And please meet those challenges. Give me feedback, because this is what we really want, is this cooperation between institutions like this. Cooperation which has added value for students, for teachers, and for science, and thus for the whole of society. So please give me feedback, but most and for all, good luck to you all, and make the best of it. And thank you so much for doing this. And I think now I can have the real official launch by pushing this button.
Please do. Yes.
Is this the moment?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Truly interdisciplinary collaboration can bring new questions, most of all. Talking to people who ask questions that you have never asked yourself.
Complex issues require smart solutions. Solutions in the fields of health, food, energy, and circular society are needed to keep our society viable and even to prevent future problems. Eindhoven University of Technology, Wageningen University and Research, Utrecht University, and UMC Utrecht aim to further intensify cooperation within this alliance. A combination of excellence and complementarity. Young top researchers cooperate intensively to find innovative solutions to social issues. There'll also be closer cooperation in the area of education within the alliance. Attending lectures at universities other than the one where you're enrolled will be encouraged and made easier. Complementary and interdisciplinary education.
De grootste verandering die de Alliantie teweeg kan brengen is denk ik dat het wordt je makkelijker gemaakt om samenwerking te starten met mensen die totaal andere onderzoeksvragen hebben.
Ik denk dat het goed is om ons eigen vakgebied te verlaten en elkaar vinden om deze grote problemen aan te pakken.
The first example of a joint forward-looking step within the Alliance is the Initiative for Personalised, Precise, Preventive Health. This should offer solutions for the prevention of diseases, so that people can live longer and healthier, while at the same time relieving the pressure on the care system. Young top scientists are brainstorming and working together on societal challenges that can be tackled within the Alliance.
Ja, ik vind het heel inspirerend om hier te zijn. Er zijn zoveel mensen met verschillende achtergronden en iedereen is heel gemotiveerd en geïnspireerd. En ik vind dat geweldig.
Yes, there you have it, the official launch video for the Alliance. And you may remember at the start, I invited you to send some of your photographs in so we know who is there watching at home. And what we've done is we've done something quite nice. As you can see, a beautiful mosaic of all of your images have been put together with the motto for the Alliance, Challenging Future Generations. And I think it's quite appropriate to have you all unified here, combined together in a single image, given that we're here to celebrate the alliance of 4 different institutes who are coming together to challenge each other and to move forward, coming up with solutions to key societal problems. Now the Alliance has been officially launched and the new website is also online. That is www.EWUU.nl, and you will also see a recap of this particular conference there in the coming days online. Now we've come to the end of the plenary programme. I'd like to make sure and invite you to stay online because you'll be able to go into the online workshops after this. There'll be about a 5-minute break before they start. If you've already signed up for the workshops, the link will appear on the platform on the screen in front of you. If you haven't signed up for a workshop yet, you can find the links to the workshops that are still open, and then you can choose any one of those for the workshop that you want to attend after this plenary session. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching the plenary session. Thank you very much to all of our panellists who were part of the table discussions, and of course to the Minister of Education for joining us as well. I hope that you enjoy the workshops. I've been your host, Barry Fitzgerald. This has been the official launch of the Alliance, and I would just want to say, in the times that we're in, stay safe and stay healthy.